Thank you for joining us today on Valley Viewpoint. We have a returning guest. He's a personal friend of mine that I grew up with in high school. His name is Tim James. Tim, thanks for coming back to our Valley Viewpoint.
My pleasure, Dan. My pleasure, buddy.
So on our last Valley Viewpoint, we talked about your amazing journey. Tim, you are a die-hard hunter. And now you're a die-hard vegan, and we kind of talked about that a little bit in our last episode. But give us a quick reference on that.
So what's happened since our last talk? A lot. So I've been flying all over the place. I've been to Chicago, been up to Canada, speaking, doing talks all over the place. I've been doing a lot of raw food prep classes, plant-based food prep. Helping people get back to the basics, because eventually it's really the food, right? Like Hippocrates said, the food is the medicine. Let thy medicine be thy food. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing a lot of that. And what I'm really, really pumped and excited about is just trying to take what's complicated and make it simple. And if there's one thing that I want to get across today, it's about cleansing and detoxification of the body. It is the first step. Like if you want to heal. If you are overweight, if you're tired, if you're fatigued, if you have mental clarity issues, on medications with a lot of side effects, any type of health issue that's plaguing you, the first step is cleansing the body, the absolute first step. So that's what I'd really like to focus on today.
So you have a story about a client of yours. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so recently, we had a booth at this. It was like a gluten-free expo in Portland, and thousands and thousands of people are coming by this booth. And this lady comes up, and she's looking around. She kept hanging around. Her name was Lynn, real nice lady, and she came up to me. She started telling me how that she had headaches for over 10 years, and a whole lot of other health issues had been plaguing her, and sinus pressure, right, and had been bothering her. And she was looking at our products that we'll be talking about here in a minute. And she's like, well, I've just tried everything. I've been to all these doctors, and then they put me on this medication, and then that medication. And then the common theme from her was, I've tried everything. And I was like, well, have you tried cleansing and detoxification? As any of these doctors that you've talked to you about the importance of cleaning the body out, and so the body can heal itself. And she's like, no, not one. And I said, well, maybe we should start there, right? So long story short, she was able to, with some advice, some coaching advice, because I coach a lot of people on their health. That's what we do. We're health coaches. And we just happen to have our own chemical-free plant-based supplement line. It's like real food. And so she got some of our products, and she started doing the gut cleanse. She started drinking water. And lo and behold, in about 3 weeks, she calls me up, and her headaches are gone. And it's awesome. It's awesome. And she's really excited. Right? Because she started cleaning out a lot of this junk and gunk and funk. We started cleaning out her digestive tract. She started hydrating her body with water. And your body's made of mostly water, right? So we can get into more of that, but that was a really exciting thing. And this happens like all the time with people, because nobody's taught the importance of detoxing and cleansing. I know I wasn't growing up. And I don't know, were you taught that?
No.
Yeah, no. Nobody is really.
And I think that brings us to a little bit of the, it seems like there's a lot of false advertising out there in that this need to eat meat, and that it's going to create a better life for you. And most of the cooking shows that you see nowadays are slabs of meat, and so basically we're inundated.
Yes.
We're inundated everywhere you look that eating meat is the way to go, but we're finding more and more research that actually we're not even really meant to eat meat. And also one of the things that's fascinating to me is how upset people become when we start talking about diet. And it seems like people are tend to really cling to what's on their dinner plate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, food is the #1 addiction, okay? I am a recovering food addict, and I always will be. You know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I never missed, and I ate all the food on my kids' plate, and my wife was done eating. I'd eat all her food. And at age 37, I ended up 38 pounds overweight. I just saw my old driver's license. I was telling people for years I'd lost 30 pounds. And I looked, I was 218 pounds, and today I'm hovering around 180, a little less. So I've actually lost 38 pounds. And I, as you know, I hunted and fished. It was all I did, you know, deer, elk, chuckers, pheasants, quail, it didn't matter. We filled the freezers. And I was constantly eating meat, making my own jerky, making my own pepperoni, making my own sausage. And at 37, I found myself not only overweight, but fatigued and tired, night sweats, eating Tums and Rolaids like they were going out of style, acid indigestion really bad. And I finally found myself on an operating table getting an organ removed. And but I didn't know what to do. I kept searching for answers, but I couldn't find it. Now, when my friend Charles when he got cancer, we went to the Hippocrates Health Institute, and that's when they taught us about the importance of detoxing and cleansing. And it was a plant-based diet there, and it was a little scary, to say the least, because I thought you had to have meat to live. I mean, where are you going to get your protein, right? So when I came back and I told people that I went plant-based to kind of help Charles make sure that he could heal his cancer, because it was working, and his blood work was improving. In fact, I told Charles, I was like, okay, I'm going to give up all meat except for bacon. Because I figured I could put bacon on avocado sandwiches or something. So we come back, I end up doing this plant-based deal, and all my health issues they started going away. The fatigue went away, I started sleeping better, the weight came off, my stomach just shrank really fast, my clothes didn't fit, my energy picked up, my mental clarity is like one of the most important things. So I started studying this meat stuff because, I mean, I was really involved in it. I'm like, what's the big deal with meat? So,
can I add one thing?
Yeah.
One of the things you said last episode is that it kind of meant being a man.
Yes.
You know, it was what that steak on the table is what kind of identified you as a man. And I appreciate you putting it, because that idea has changed.
Well, yeah, and let me bring something up that will probably wake up the viewers. 40% or 50% of men over 40 are impotent. Okay, they can't basically perform sexually. Okay, that's a problem. Look at the sales in Viagra. Right now, what's causing that? Well, if you look inside of somebody's arteries, like why are people getting all these bypass surgeries, which is where you take a vein out of the side of your leg and you attach it to your heart to bypass the veins that are clogged. And what are they clogged with? Well, when these doctors pull that stuff out, it's animal fats, right? Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, one of the top cardiac surgeons on the planet at the time at the Cleveland Clinic, he figured this out and he thought, well, what if we just stop eating meat? Maybe that'll work. And it did, right? And these big, huge documentaries started coming out like forks over knives. I suggest everybody watch that video, and you can actually see the veins, and he talks about that whole process. So if a man can't perform sexually, this is a blessing for you, because this is an early sign telling you that you have cardiovascular disease. Now, better to know now than a heart attack, because in 25% of those cases, the first sign that you die. There's no do-over. You can't change your diet. You can't start exercising. You see what I'm saying? So if for the guys out there today that are impotent, this is it's the meat. It's the animal fats that are clogging yourself. So if you can stop eating meat, not only will your veins clear themselves out, and those little endothelial cells will start producing more nitric oxide, and you can heal yourself, everything else is going to get better too. Your mental clarity, your digestion is going to improve. There's just so many things about meat. And then I studied it further, and if you look at Dr. Michael Greger's talk in 2012 called Uprooting the Leading Causes of Death, he said that it's the bacteria in the meat. See, because when an animal dies, it's dead. The flesh is decomposing. What's breaking that down? Well, it's bacteria, right? So when you consume the flesh, the dead flesh, into your body, you're bringing in all those bacteria, and the fat in the flesh actually transports the bacteria throughout your entire cardiovascular system. And it lasts about 4 to 6 hours, and you get this state of inflammation cardiovascularly, internally. They call it systemic inflammation. 4 to 6 hours it lasts. And then your body regulates it and brings it back down. And then it's lunchtime, and you have another ham sandwich or something. And you start that whole process again, and it's an internal inflammation, right? So not only do you have the fats coming in clogging you, but you have the bacteria creating inflammation, and we know that inflammation is the precursor to all disease. And then on top of it, muscle tissue and fat accumulates toxins, and today more than ever we are so polluted with the environmental toxins, the chemicals in our air, our water, our food. It's everywhere. Chemical, fertilizers, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, larvicides, harmful if swallowed toothpaste that people might be consuming today, or contact your poison control center toothpaste, soaps and shampoos that have sodium lauryl sulfate in it. It's everywhere.
So you have developed some products to combat this. Is that part of the reason why? Is all the chemicals that are in our system, and you're realizing we're not meant to have all these chemicals in our system,
Yes.
and you've developed some products that help us
Exactly.
get those chemicals out.
Yes, because what I realized is to start sharing with people about changing your diet right up front. It's really hard because it's like saying to a heroin addict, "Oh, just stop taking the heroin and you'll be fine and you'll turn your life around." "Oh, okay, I'll just stop." Right? Just stop eating the meat and everything's going to get better. Right? Try doing that with a man that's been doing that his whole life. I've been doing this. I've had thousands of people over to my classes. I've had men sit out in their cars and they won't even come in while their wife is attending a raw food dinner class because they're afraid to go in. Right? So what I've learned is I don't even talk about the meat up front. Right? We'll educate them on that later, unless they're in stage 4 cancer or they got something really bad going on and they have the propensity to change, and then we'll lay it all out and they can attack it, and they usually have the energy to do it at that point because their back's against the wall.
Right.
Right? But at this point, what we want to just talk about is the importance of cleansing, drinking water, chewing your food well, avoiding liquids with meals so you don't dilute your digestive enzymes, and cleaning out the digestive tract. And when we start doing that, people start feeling better, their energy picks up, they start sleeping better, they have less gas and bloating, which is typical with a lot of folks, and then they're more apt to go to the, changing their diet and looking at the meat. But maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 months down the road after we've got them kind of prepped up. So yeah, we do have products that we've specifically designed for this so that they could do it in less than 5 minutes a day, but and not make a big shift, and they don't have to change their whole life, right?
You're trying to make this shift simple for them. Well, we have to take a break, Tim. But I do want to point out that Tim has been on a 25-day, his 25-day of fasting right now. It's not just water. He's been drinking his green drink and some other things. But we're going to talk about that fast and the benefits of fasting and the spiritual application of fasting. Thanks for watching Valley Viewpoint, and today with me is Tim James, and Tim James is quite a wonderful guru on health and nutrition. His life has been radically transformed by a plant-based diet, and actually today Tim is on his 25th day of a juice and water fast. So Tim, here we are, and once again back in the studio. You're on 25 days of fasting, and that's kind of extreme. That's crazy. Do you feel like you're going to faint and pass out?
I've had a couple days like that. Yeah, and a lot of it's because I let my ego get in the way. When you're doing long-term fasting, I've learned that you should be resting and not doing as much. And with running this company and just trying to be active, I've pushed it a little bit too far. I actually feel fantastic today. Sometimes I get too busy and I don't drink enough liquids, and that's what really has been my downfall. I recommend to the viewers that intermittent fasting is probably best, especially in the beginning, and long-term intermittent fasting where I just fast 1 day a week. That's my standard protocol. But I've always wanted to do a 40-day fast. This is my 3rd attempt. I made it 10 days, I made it 11 days, and now I'm on day 25, and I'm feeling really strong. I got, today and then 15 more days, so we'll see if I make it. But either way, I feel a success, even if I go have a vegan burger today or something.
So why are you doing it? How is it? What's the reason behind fasting for you?
For me, from what I've researched and stuff, if you look at like all the religions, if they tell you that you want to get closer to God, what do? You fast and you pray. You fast and you pray. All the religions say this. And the more, as I've gotten meat out of my life, and as I've purified my body and cleansed my digestive tract and done my best to get the chemicals out and replace the household products, the soaps and the laundry detergents and all that stuff with natural products, I feel that not only has my mental clarity increased, but I feel like I'm starting to tune into a greater power, right? And I know there's more, and I'm not all the way tuned in yet, so I'm just putting my rabbit ears up, and I know that by fasting and meditation, I'm going to get there, right? So that's something that's really important to me. I want to take my health, I just want to strip my body down, I want to get pure, and I just want to be more clear and tuned into the universe so that that I can be a better example for my children, for society, and it's just something I've been wanting to do for a long time. It's important to me.
Well, I've noticed that you have been, before it was just hunting, and then your next thought was hunting, and your next thought was hunting, but now
and don't forget about beer.
Yeah, that's right. And bacon and egg sandwiches, right? But now you're out. Wow, you're thinking about really profound things. You're helping people. You're changing their lives. And I can't help but notice that your whole mindset has completely changed. Would you say this is most directly correlated to your diet?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. See, because when you're consuming cooked or processed foods that are so far away from nature, you think about it. When God, our Creator, put us on the planet, He also put our food here.
Yeah.
Right. And what is that food? Well, I don't even know exactly what it is, but I do know that it's plants, right? And it says in the Bible, the herbs are for the healing of the nations, right? So I do know that. And so all I know is that when I ate 37 years, nobody ate more meat than me. Nobody killed more animals than I did. And there might be a few, but we hunted a lot, right? And when I cleansed and detoxed my digestive tract and stuff, and I got off the meats and the dairy products and the cooked and the processed foods that are so far away from nature, and I started going back to fresh foods and sprouts and vegetables and these types of things, my body just started healing up, and my mental clarity just went through the roof, and I started thinking differently. I didn't want to kill anything anymore. Even after I started plant-based, though, I still hunted for 2 more years, and then I let my friends take the meat, because I had very tight bonds with my friends, and those hunting expeditions were, I love getting out in the woods and hiking and getting in the soil. I love that part of it. I love the camaraderie, but the killing part just stopped appealing to me. And I shot a deer 4 or 5 years back, and as soon as I pulled the trigger and it started falling down the hill, I knew something was. It affected me. It was like it was hurting me inside. It's weird just thinking about it right now. And I had a hard time. I had a really hard time, like just gutting that animal out and taking care of it. It really is. I actually avoid the meat sections now because it stinks to me before. And I had our own meat hooks and pit and meat saws and meat grinders. We had all that stuff, and I just try to get away from it now.
So let's talk about you. We had a little conversation about Jesus and what He looks like. Can you elaborate a little bit about that our body being the temple, and that you made a comment that actually we're not doing right by God if we're not taking care of the body He gave us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I really it makes it really easy for me because when I'm coaching somebody and if they're Christian, because I can just put it right back on them. Right? If you believe in God and you're going to follow what God says, then you have to follow what God says. You can't just do this part of it and go to church and think it's okay, right? And a lot of it's not so much people's fault, it's just that the whole society is like this, and we just kind of follow along like lemmings, and we want to fit in, and we want to fit in at the barbecues and fit in at the baseball game and the football games and all that stuff. But if you go to church once a week, a lot of people do, right? And that's a temple, right? But the most important temple is your body, right? And are you visiting that very often? Are you really paying attention to that and what's going on with it? And if plants is what God said we're supposed to eat, and you're violating that law, then it's going to show up you're going to be overweight, you're going to be sick, you're going to be tired, you're going to be medications. If you have any health issues, most of it's related to these foods and these processed foods.
So is God striking us down with disease, or are we doing it to ourselves?
Well, I think it's self-inflicted because He gave us a free will.
I agree.
He gave us a free will.
100%.
And hopefully this show is what I'm all about, is trying to wake people up and say, hey, look, maybe you can just take a little bit different look at this thing, right? And if we can help you, get you cleansed out and get your brain thinking better, and then maybe you can do a challenge and maybe challenge yourself. If you've had meat for 30, 40, 50 years, maybe just take a 30-day break and see how it does for you. And then after 30 days, go back to it and see how you feel.
Yeah.
I do this with my clients all the time. And I said, then call me and tell me how you feel on day 31. And they always feel horrible.
Now, you're giving a lecture last night, and you were talking about, hey, if you just start dumping a bunch of good foods into your body, it's like your car, you had a little analogy there. You actually need to detox first.
Yeah.
And so, and again, why don't we talk about your products?
Okay, cool. So, yeah, it's really important. If you have a car and it's not running well and the check engine light's on, and I equate that to your body. Now, a check body light would be you're overweight. You're on medications. Again, you have some type of a health issue. You're not sleeping well, you're tired, you're fatigued, stage 4 cancer, diabetes, whatever your issue is, okay, that's a check body light. You don't just go put in awesome fuel and then think everything's going to be great, right? You have to take your car, your body into the shop, and you have to clean it. You have to do a transmission fluid flush. You got to change the spark plugs, new fuel filter. Then you put the good fuel in, and then it's going to run like a top. So what we have done is we have developed simple, herbal, real food products with 0 chemicals in them. This one's called Gut Cleanse Plus. This is actually a well over 1,000-year-old formula from India, 3 raw fruits, works really well. And what we have people do is initially we'll have them take an entire bottle over 15 days, 3 tablets in the morning and 3 at night, and they're going to clean out and lose about 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material and mucoid plaque that's lining their intestinal tract, which sounds pretty gross, but the average person has got that much funk and gunk and junk in there, and we have to get that cleaned out first. We have to clean out the pathway of elimination. That's number one. Then after that, they just take 3 a day for maintenance, and long term, this will clean out not only keep your digestive tract clean, but your gut and your organ systems clean. Then the next product is called Green 85. This replaces the 85% of nutrition that's missing in the soil. We talked about that earlier. Our soils have been farmed out. There's no nutrients in them. So if you're not putting nutrients in your body, the proper fuel, you're going to be deficient. You're going to be starving because your cells are starving, and then you're going to want to eat and eat and eat, and you can never satisfy your cells' need for nutrition on a cellular level, and that's why a lot of people are overweight, because they're starving. And when you start putting that in, you're not as hungry, right? Now, the next product is probiotics. These are very important. This represents about 70% of your immune system. And they get wiped. There are bacteria in your gut. That bacteria should weigh about 3 to 5 pounds. It's quite a bit, and that's your protection against viruses and bacteria and mold and yeast and fungus and mutagens and parasites and all these things. The good bacteria down there gets wiped out with stress, chemicals, poor eating habits. It gets wiped out. So it's very important. Antibiotics will wipe it out, pharmaceutical drugs, and even chemical supplements will kill your good bacteria. That's your immune system, and you need it for good brain health. You need it for digestion and elimination, and you need it for immunity. And for the baby boomers out there, this is really important, because 20 to 25% of baby boomers today are getting, or it's up to 28% actually, Alzheimer's and dementia. And I went through that with my grandfather, and it's not something you want. So you need to be recolonizing that bacteria. You can also use things like fermented foods. And then the last product we have is called digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes help you to liquefy your food and make the burden of digestion simple, because a lot of people are just not chewing their food well enough, and then this will actually help you to rehabilitate your digestive tract and get that muscle action going again. And it's about a 2 to 3 year process to get that done. So these are just very simply the products. It's a system. People can start off with 1 or 2 or 3, or they can do all of them and work their way up. It doesn't matter. But none of this works unless you're drinking adequate amounts of water, period. Your body's made mostly of water. It's the most important thing I tell people to do, besides chewing their food until liquefied and avoiding those liquids with meals to not dilute those digestive
So
juices.
we've just got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Is there a, and I want everyone to know about Tim's website. It's chemicalfreebody.com, and that's your company, and you're out helping all kinds of people,
Yes.
and there's more information about those products. But is there a little message? We just have a minute left. Is there a message that you would like to go ahead and end on?
Sure, sure. So what I think I'd like to leave with your viewers today, like I always do, is just pause for a moment and really think about your life and what's really important in your life. Your actions are being followed by your children and your grandchildren, and you're leaving a legacy. And it's never too late to turn it around, right? If you've got health issues right now and you want to turn it around, I want to let you know that you can do that, but you just have to love yourself enough to do this. That's the first step. If you can love yourself enough, you can, whether you use our products or anybody else's products, it doesn't matter. Just love yourself enough. Start drinking some water. Chew your food until liquefied. And man, you are going to just start feeling better. And then you can be a good example for your kids and your grandkids. And that's how we're going to change our community. We do it one person at a time.
And you walk the walk and talk the talk. I appreciate that about you, and,
Yeah.
and I'm proud of you, and I'm thankful that we're still good friends, and I'm just so thankful of all the people's lives that you're touching and you're helping make a big difference in a world where they're not getting the right information on how to heal.
Right, right.
And
drink your green juices every day. That's very
right.
important. 1 or 2 of those a day will change your life.
Tim, thanks, my man.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having me
it.
here, buddy.
And thank you for watching Valley Viewpoint today, and hope to see you next time.
Blue Mountain Television is a viewer-supported ministry. That means we rely on you to provide the funds to keep this ministry operational. To support this station, please send your tax-deductible gift to Blue Mountain Television, 1200 Southeast 12th Street, Suite 2, College Place, Washington, 99324. That's Blue Mountain Television, 1200 Southeast 12th Street, Suite 2, College Place, Washington, 99324. Thank you for your generous support.